Hey guys, it is Megan up at Camp Sunshine. There's Spanky sleeping as he does during the day. And I just wanted to pop on and give an update on my tooth extraction. So it has been a week since I had, Tuesday to Tuesday. So it's been a week since I had my very, very back molar, as you may have seen if you've been following, and I have a picture of the tooth that was extracted. The root had fallen off. And there was a fairly large gold cap to it. So it had been a tooth that had been worked on prior to this. And my recollection is that I had a tooth that I cracked during one of my falls, my lovely MS falls, way back in like 2014, 2013. When Sean still lived in his rental house, there were railroad ties that ran up along the side of the small driveway, which was a slight incline, and rushing out with a tray in my hand to go somewhere, and slipped and fell and clipped my chin and busted open. Had to get a bunch of stitches in my chin, had a really gnarly scar, but then I had my massage therapist tell me that if I take oil and I rub it every single day, it would diminish the scar, and it's now completely or almost completely gone. I can feel a little bit of it, but I believe my kind of tracking back and trying to figure this out, what the story is of the tooth, because the tooth wasn't dead, it was just cracked, on its way to being dead, obviously, if the root fell out. So the reason, what led me, and as I said, I really didn't mention anything in my social medias or I did mention something to Sean a couple weeks prior, and it was just more my back of my throat, maybe, or my tongue, the very, very back of my tongue, kind of leading into my throat, was very, very irritated. And I was getting this nerve-like sensation, like a shooting, really kind of, I called it the dangerous pain. It was scary because it felt like if that continued, that shit was going to be terrible. But it was only when I was chewing or if I was brushing, or I often do like face massage if I hit a certain point. And it was never back here, even though it was that was the area that was irritated. The zinging came from up here. So anyway, I've now had the tooth extracted and it's been gone for a week. I've had a hole in my mouth, which has led to many, many jokes about what I don't want in my hole. Kind of inappropriate. I didn't get any stitches. I had been told I was going to get stitches, but at the end, and you may recall, I said he was a fairly non-personable doctor. He walked in, slapped on the gloves, opened up my mouth, shoved the block in my mouth, and got to work. But in his preamble, he did mention that there would be stitches and that they would be self-dissolving stitches and that I would need to take any and all antibiotics that he prescribed at the end of it. There was no mention of the stitches afterwards. The nurse later, as I was checking out and I asked about the stitches, she said, "Oh, you didn't get stitches," and there were no antibiotics. So I have to believe that we got to the tooth before it got, really dead, and there wasn't any real festering in there. But herein lies the dilemma. I still have the zingy thing that led me there to begin with. So they didn't fix what I went in to be fixed. Now I'm one tooth down, but I still have this thing going on. And so I have a conundrum because I don't want to go back in and have them be like, "Oh, you have another tooth that needs to be extracted." But then again, we know that having bad teeth is horrible. And as I've talked about, I used to always say that, good health starts in your gut, but the truth is it actually starts in your mouth, because if you have bad bacteria and bad cavities and bad mojo going on in your mouth, and you are chewing your food and passing your food through your mouth, chew, you get all of that shit onto the food, you swallow it, and then you're introducing all that bad bacteria and stuff down into your gut. So even if your gut was healthy, it's not going to stay that way. So tooth health, teeth health, oral health is really, really important. And it was one thing that when I was on all the pharmaceuticals, I did get dry mouth, and they actually gave me, ironically, they gave me a prescription for something for the dry mouth. But no one ever mentioned that dry mouth could lead to horrible, devastating dental decay and problems. Not once did anybody. And I mean, at that point, I hadn't, So the story is, I was a single mom. When things got tight, I had always had very, very healthy teeth, and so I thought that I could go a couple of years without cleaning as long as I brushed and did my normal routines, that I would be fine. Maybe I would end up with a cavity, ooh, terrible. And as the story goes, so that was from like 2012 to 2017, and we joke that Mr. Tabor married me for my parking handicapped disabled placard pass, and I married him for his health and dental benefits. So it was a very, very good exchange. So 2017, I went to a dentist and was told that I had 18 cavities on this side and 19 on this side. It was a horrible dental experience, not just because of that. She was a terrible dentist. We call her the tooth Nazi. I did go back and I had work done on one side. It was an all-day affair. It was horrible. It was so traumatic that I decided I didn't care if this side of the teeth fell out. I wasn't going back. And that remained from 2017, knowing that I had all this in my mouth. I went from 2017 to 2022 probably, because then we had COVID and getting in to see a dentist was impossible for a while, and then very difficult unless it was, you had major surgery needing to be done. And we had moved, and so I didn't have a dentist, not like I liked that dentist and was going to go back to her. So I put it off until about 2020. I did a bunch of research because I did as much as I could naturally to try to keep my mouth healthy, as healthy as it could be, knowing I had all this damage during the 2017 to 2022. Knew that I wanted to go with a natural tended, naturally leaning dentist. Found one super, super expensive. He basically emptied out my HSA doing just one procedure. It was freaking stupid and pathetic. And finally ended up going to the dentist that Sean had seen here, that was recommended by a neighbor, and absolutely love him. And over the course of the last 2 years of working with him, 2 to 3 years, I have made vast improvements. I never got anything filled on this side. When they used to do the readings of how recessed your gums were, I had all like 4s and 5s, and I'm now down to maybe 2s and 3s. I don't know. I'm gonna have to pay attention next time I go. But this very back one, when I went in and I said my tongue is hurting, the back of my tongue / my throat. This is immediately where they looked. There was that tooth. There was a huge crevice in the back. They couldn't actually see a crack, but they surmised that it had cracked on the kind of very, very back side. And that was recording like a 9. So it was like a big, big divot. And obviously, even if it wasn't festering at that point, it was on its way to doing that. So I don't think it was a terrible thing to have had that tooth pulled. But I, as I said, have now left with the conundrum of I'm not fixed and I still have this thing. And so do I ignore it and hope that it'll get better? And there is one possibility. I know everything is interconnected. I still am not, my tongue is not laying naturally in my mouth right now. there's tenderness and a weirdness to having raw gum there rather than tooth. So I may still be pulling my tongue in my jaw, and maybe that somehow, and so if I did more massaging and working on my face or something, I don't know, maybe that will resolve it. But in the meantime, went and had a tooth pulled, and the problem isn't fixed. So I guess I'll let you know when I learn more. I don't know if it's not fixed, if I go back to the dentist. I guess I do. I don't know. So I'll let you know. Bye, guys.